order since we have some changes now that we have a special meeting for the ECCL Governance Committee. So I'll do call to order at 5:34. Roll call. Councilmember John Bowders.
Present.
Councilmember Scott Donahue.
Here.
Councilmember Dan Martinez. Here. Councilmember Alan Medina.
Here.
Councilmember Kristen Patt.
Here.
Board member Bailey Langer. She will not be here tonight. Board member Brenda Collins.
Present.
Board member Barbara Inch.
Here.
Board member Tom Marion.
Present.
And board member Cruz Vargas.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. So tonight we need to do a selection of a meeting chair since this is a special meeting. At the previous meeting, there was selection of them, so if, it was up to the same committee. If you want to follow that format, then that would probably help just going along with the meeting, but it's up to the committee to make that decision.
I'd like to make a motion for John Bowders to be chair.
Okay. Second? Second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And no no's. It goes forward. So our meeting chair is John Bowders. So I'll let you take over from here.
Thank you. At this time, we'll entertain public comment for items on this agenda or not on this agenda. 3 minutes to speak for each person who wishes to comment. We'll entertain public comment for individual items at the time we hear those items. Seeing none, the role of the governance committee. Pedro?
Yes, so I know there might be some confusion out there. When we're reviewing our GOA, it talks about that the governance committee should meet as a subset of the city schools committee, which is only the 10 members and does not include the youth. So after reviewing that with legal, it was suggested that we actually come back and convene as in a special meeting as the ECCL Governance Committee, and looking at the duties that are assigned to that are all similar to everything that was discussed at the previous city schools meeting. So we will be reviewing all those rules and procedures and following all those same responsibilities that were for the ongoing needs of this ECCL project. So I can try to answer some additional questions, but they all fall in line.
Okay, are there any members of the public who wish to comment on the role of the governance committee in general before we discuss? Seeing none. School Board Member Collins.
Yes. So I just wanted to back up and see if we can make an introduction to the new people at the table. There's a couple of new faces in new positions, and if we can introduce them.
We may absolutely do that. Thank you for that opportunity. So I'm going to begin. No, you don't get to do that. I'm going to begin and ask you're the host, Dr. Kiana Scott. Would you like to introduce yourself to the public?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kiana Scott. I'm the superintendent for Emeryville Unified School District.
Okay, and our new city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. My name is Christine Daniel. I'm the new city manager for the city of Emeryville.
Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, and welcome. Thank you for that. Other members who wish to comment on, there's no action item on rules of governance. Any discussion before we move to the action items? Okay, seeing none, the action items. Item 6.1 is the adoption of rules and procedures for the ECCL Governance Committee. Members, you have in the packet a document that is 7 pages long. It's titled Draft Rules of Procedure of the Emeryville Center of Community Life ECCL Governance Committee. It's dated today, November 1st, 2018. You will recall that this is a draft that we worked on at our last meeting. And Pedro, can you just explain to me, for the benefit of those who are looking at this, on page 4, there's one section that's in highlight. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, this was the one that had the biggest wording changes regarding how the agenda would be set up, which had already a general agenda items that would always be on there, but the wording on this was agreed upon by the whole committee as far as how they would be presented in the future if there was discussion on adding agenda items.
Okay. Do we have copies of these available to members of the public if they wish to see them?
I think I might have ran. Yes, I do have copies here.
If any member of the public wishes to see the rules of the committee, they're available for your review. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to call public comment twice because we've just released those rules to the public. So is there members of the public who wish to comment at this time? Recognizing that I will reserve the right to call public comment again. Seeing none, is there discussion by members of this committee? Councilmember Martinez.
I just have a couple of corrections for that same highlighted section, section 4.2, subsection 1. Second paragraph, all discretionary agenda requests, I will ask that there be an S added at the end of request. And in the last sentence of the paragraph, I would add a D to the word agendized. Unless that's a word I don't know.
That's correct.
So, I would just recommend those changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Martinez. Other members of the committee who wish to discuss the contents of these rules?
Is there a red line version of this document, one that shows what it was in the past?
I don't have it here tonight. I could send out what was the previous version of the changes.
So if you recall at the last meeting, it would be in the future better to provide a red line of what we changed, just as a note for the benefit of the members, since we have 6-month gaps between meetings. But this document, last time, we went through each section and we wrote this language as we went last time.
Correct.
So what I would propose is that if we adopt this tonight, provided there's not an actual error or conflict in language with what we directed staff to draft at the last meeting, this should be what we're adopting in whole, should be a recognition of the last discussed draft put into print. Other members have comments? This time I'll reopen public comment for those of the public who wish to speak. Seeing none, if there's no further discussion, members, I'll entertain a motion.
But before that, if we go back to comments for 1 second. So just the way it's stated today, or currently, what we're asking to accept or pass is that we only have one chair, and in the past we've had co-chairs with one of them being somebody from the,
Sorry, yeah, there is
from the
a
board.
change.
Which section are you referring to?
The 4.2.1. So it says that the presiding officer will agree or not agree to place a requested agenda item.
It says presiding officers.
However, I thought there's only, but isn't there, didn't we
There
just
is a-
agree there's only one presiding officer, meaning the chair of the committee,
There are co-chairs to this committee under these rules.
right?
I do have one suggestion or change that was brought up, sorry. Presiding officers, so 2.8, if everyone can look at that, and I apologize, I meant to highlight this, is because there's 2 meetings and trying to avoid possible conflict, that there's the one presiding officer actually chair the meeting in May, and then one presiding officer chair the meeting in November. So starting in November, if these rules are approved, that would be the suggestion that would be made. But there would be two presiding officers that would be selected.
Right. My takeaway, the way I understood it, is that we only selected one chair today, which is
Just
you.
to run this meeting, because these rules don't apply until we vote them in.
Okay, thank you. So then,
In May.
I assume then in the following meeting, then we would
We pick 2
we pick the
chairs.
co-chairs. Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Correct.
Other questions?
I still don't understand the need for the change, but that's a philosophical issue. My question is, it just seems such a waste of time to elect officers every year. You know, it always made sense to me to have it either be default to the mayor and board president, or default to the vice mayor and board vice president, or something else. It just seems silly that we have to come together and spend time voting every year on a presiding officer. So it's just my comment. It's the same one I had 6 months ago.
Does anyone wish to respond to that comment? Did you? Is there a motion on the table?
Yeah, I'll move to, I will move to pass these bylaws with the changes suggested by Member Martinez.
Second?
There's a motion by Councilmember Medina and a second by Councilmember Martinez to approve the proposed rules for the Governance Committee with 2 changes to Section 4.2, Paragraph 1, second paragraph by changing the word request to requests, and in the last sentence, changing the word agendized to agendized. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed?
Opposed?
Are there any abstaining? Passes by a plurality of the members present, with Councilmember Pats voting no. All other members are aye. Item 6.2 is review and approval of the O&M mid-year budget adjustments and capital program. Pedro.
Actually, we'll call up the finance director, Dora.
Is Dora here? Oh, Dora's back there.
She just came in. You should have, in your packet, there should be a detailed financial report, a summary financial report, and a spreadsheet for your review.
I guess perfect timing. I just walk in. Okay, Paige. Tonight we are going to look at the O&M budget for 18-19, the first interim budget report. And pretty well, it consists of 3 attachments. One is the spreadsheet that you normally see every year. And then the second one is this time we include the budget detail report. And then the last one is just the budget summary report. But before I go on to the budget details, I'm not sure whether you guys already know the new director of maintenance. So I'm going to introduce everybody to the new director of maintenance, which is Vicente Ramos.
Would you like to come up and say anything?
He's on that.
He's on the
We
agenda.
have that under item 7, if you want to wait for that, Mr.
Oh. Well, yeah, we'll have you wait, actually. We have a special item for you, don't worry.
All right, so instead of going over the summary like what we did before, I know everybody is interested to see the details. So what about we start with the budget detail report? And it's only about 16 pages.
That's fine.
Okay. So on the first page of the detailed budget report, you will see the top part of the report is pretty well tell you the funding coming in on the O&M budget. And the first one is the city share, the $286,000 that you see is the city share of the O&M budget for the first interim. Again, I want to emphasize these are all budget numbers. They will change. So by the time when we do the second interim, these numbers probably will change again. So the second line is the $275,000 is the third-party rental projected where you're coming into the O&M budget. And then the next line item, the $668,000 is the district share of the O&M contributions. Now, on the bottom part of that page, which start the expenditures, the first line item you see, the $195,000 is the custodian salaries for 18-19. And you will see a balance of $33,000 on the end of that report under account balance. And that is basically the budget that we designated to increase the 0.5 custodian. And the posting is already gone out. So that budget is set aside to increase the 0.5 FTE custodian. And then the next item on the page, the $10,000 is the overtime. Any question on that before we go to page 2?
Are there questions for the first page of this document? No. Continue second page. Thank you.
Okay, so on the page 2, the first line item, we are all looking at the revised budget because now we are working on the interim. This is the working budget that we are going on. So we should not be looking at the original budget. So the line item that we are referring to right now is under the revised budget or the working budget. So the first line item is $19,000. That is the sub-custodian budget. And then the next one, The 40,000 is the CBO, 30% of the time on the O&M budget. And then the next one, the $85,000, that one is referring to the Director of Maintenance budget. But again, for this year, Vicente, our new maintenance director, will be tracking his time on the two separate locations, which is the YMCA and the German school or the old NEA's location. So, because last year I was told by Ron, our prior director of maintenance, that he spent only about 1%, the maximum, of his time maintaining the other two sites. So this time we are having the new director of maintenance to track the time that he spent on those two locations and then come back to the business office. And before we close out the book, we are actually going by his backup and going to take out those time that he spent on the two sites from the O&M ECCL budget. So that will be a big change compared to before. Before, we charge entire 100% of that position to O&M. But starting this year, we are actually tracking the time that he needs, if there is any, that he needs to maintain the other two locations. So that budget number will change. And then after that, we start with the fringe benefits. As you all aware, it's going to be the PERS, the FICA, the Medicare, the health and welfare, the unemployment insurance, the workers' comp. So I don't think we need to go over every one of them because they are percentage of your base salary. So if you guys don't have any questions on the fringe benefits, we are going to jump into the non-salary accounts. So any questions on the fringe benefits?
Are there questions from members? No, you can continue. Oh, you do?
Yeah, when you prorate the salaries, you prorate the benefits as well?
That's right, yes. And if anybody needs some backup, he will be providing the business office and also the city council the backup. So let's jump to page 8. And then we are not going to look at the fringe. So the first line item we are going to see is actually the last item on that page. It said materials and supplies. So these are purchases that made under the O&M budget related to ECCL. And it's a long list. It goes into page 9, and then it goes into page 10, part of page 10. So the budget right now for the materials and supplies for the O&M is about $52,000. And then the next item on page 10, which is the non-capitalized equipment. So right now, the budget is around $2,000. And then the last item on that page is the property insurance. The budget amount is about $62,000 right here, and it goes on to page 11. So any questions so far before we carry on page 11? So we're okay? Okay, then on page 11, the second line item is the electricity. So the budget right now is sitting in $192,000.
We've encumbered $127,000, and that's through a 6-month period? Under the encumbered section of this portion of the budget, you've listed $127,000.
That's right. The $127,000 is the blanket PO that's available to pay for the entire electricity usage that we projected up to June 30th. See, it said on the description, it said 2018, 2019 electric services. So it's for the entire year.
For a July 1 to June 30 calendar.
from July 1st to June 30th, yes.
Go-
Paid 64.
We've paid 64 and we've encumbered 127. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you.
All right, and the next one is the gas usage. The budget right now is 75,000. And I want to point out to the council that after talking with the city, the meeting yesterday, this number will be decreased by about 15,000 in this second interim budget. So even though you're seeing 75,000, next time when we're going to look at this budget, unless there are some changes, as per the meeting that we had yesterday, it's going to come down to 60,000. Okay? And then the last item on this page is the water usage. Right now, the budget is going to sit in 43,000 because it carry on to page 12. So the water, right now, the budget is 43,000. And then the next one is the repair budget is sitting at $13,000. And then the next one is the, pretty well is the PBIP that we budget for. It's now revised to 11,000.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
I'm
go.
sorry, Dora, can I ask a question about electricity? So are we going to revise the budget for electricity with EBCE's rates, which I believe the ECCL campus should be one of the customers of East Bay Community Energy, which is the new electricity procurer for Alameda County by default?
I will need to check on that. So you're saying that we should be billed at a discounted rate?
You should expect to see a savings of 1.5% or more.
Councilmember Martinez, rather than ask the finance director about the programming, I'd like to ask the superintendent and city manager, do we know if this property is going to be enrolled in the Bright Futures, Bright 100?
It's Brilliant 100.
Brilliant 100.
I believe.
Oh, the opt-up?
Yes.
No, just the basic.
It'll be enrolled in the basic automatically unless an opt-out.
Yeah, and the basic rate should be a discount of 1.5%.
And so if I could, Mr. Mayor, if I could just
You may.
respond to that. With regard to revising the budget, my recommendation would be for that amount. We might not want to do that until we've seen actual performance.
Yeah.
So the enrollment happens this month, so by the, right?
It's a municipal enrollment, so it should have happened in June or July.
So we should start to see the benefit of that once we've seen probably 2 quarters worth of billing?
We should see the benefit now. However, I would keep an eye on, maybe we should wait till after January because there are some CPUC hearings regarding the PCIA that may affect where it will finally land. But just to, give a note to Dora and the district that that's something to keep an eye on. We might realize some savings there.
Does the property here get automatically enrolled as municipal property if it's owned by the school district?
Yeah.
Yeah,
public
still?
agencies.
Okay. All right.
So can I ask a question then?
Yes.
If the discounted rate is supposed to be effective back in July 2018, then when we are going to actually see the bill or the savings starting in January 2019, are they going to retro us? Or
No, it would have been in real time.
okay.
So it's
So-
you would have seen it on the bills.
So who should I contact in the city or directly to PG&E if I want to get more information on
I'll
this?
give you that information.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
And then now we are going to continue on page,
Hang on one second.
Councilmember Pats?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So before we went back to electrical, you mentioned that the PBIT is now part of this O&M budget,
only on the ECCL parcel.
but it's a property tax, not part of operations or maintenance. I'm confused why that would be part of the operations and maintenance budget. It should be part of because it's your property. We're merely a leasee.
It is an allowable expense under the.
Yeah.
Allowable expense under the JOA?
Yes.
It's just a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, it's specified on the JOA that is part of the O&M budget. Okay, now, any more questions before we go on to page 12?
My only question related
Okay.
to the PBID section is the 16,000 that was paid, is that because we paid the first tax bill only this year? And the second one will get paid in February, I'm assuming?
Okay, what happened, number one, the $27,600 is the projected PBIP
Right.
for 1819. And then the negative 16,172 is actually what was, the business office was told to carry over the PO from last year, 1718, to carry over to 1819. But apparently right now, we were told again, there is no more billing coming in for 1718. So we are closing out that PO, and with closing it out, the money going back to the O&M budget.
Is that what it's supposed to do?
I'm not sure on their PO process, but I do know that I recently just took a check to City Hall regarding PBIT and payment, so that has been paid recently, so I'm not sure if it's not being captured here right now, or what that 16.
Like the PO was set up for 30,000 and ended up we pay less than that. And then when we closed out the 1718 book, we were told, go ahead to carry it over. So we carry it over. But now with the new PO set up for this year, the 27,000, so that means there should not be any billing that coming in for 1718. So we are closing out the 1718 liability and leaving the $27,000 as only the 1819 liability for the PBIP. Okay.
Right.
And then that is the reason why once we close out the liability, the money is being released back to the budget.
But I believe there was a payment recently made for the PBIT, correct?
That's
But it's
right.
not
I want
reflected.
to be clear about something for the benefit of
Yes.
the public, because first of all, we're talking about payment obligation when we say PO.
Okay.
So two things. We have the existing current ongoing PBIT obligation, which I believe the school district pays every year in the spring before the budget ends, correct? And you remit that one time to the city, which we remit directly to the TMA. There's an agreement between the school district and the city as collector for the TMA to remit over a 10-year period the balance of a negotiated agreement for arrears, which is a fixed figure per year set by the district, which can be paid in advance at no penalty to the district. That figure was originally set at just under $30,000. So I'm assuming this $27,600 is the arrears payment that you're paying back. Is that correct?
Well, number one, the 30,000 that you mentioned on the agreement, actually, the business office was not notified at all. So that is one thing on my desk to follow up with maybe the legal counsel and also the prior superintendent to get more information before I can answer you that. Because honestly, the business office was not aware at all that arrangement or agreement. And besides, I'm assuming if we're going to set up any commitment on the book, it's going to come out from the general fund, unless somebody told me otherwise.
Well,
it should not be
that-
coming out from the O&M budget.
I agree with that completely, and that's
Okay.
why I have this question, is what this figure accurately represents, because your annual payment for this property and the arrears payment being made annually by the district are very similar numbers. So I want clarification. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just before I came over here this evening, I spoke with the city attorney about this very topic. He confirmed that there was a settlement agreement, essentially, with
Yes.
regard to the arrears payments, and there's a fixed annual payment that is due. So we'll be happy to follow up with you and give you the documentation of that.
Okay.
And it should be coming out of the general fund, not the
Yes.
O&M.
All right, we will follow up with that, and we'll have a conversation about that. We'll have a conversation
Yeah.
about that. Okay, so this $27,600 then is the regular annual obligation for this
For-
property to
yes,
the PBID.
For 1819 only.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes. So I appreciate to get the information from the
We will-
city
we will-
so
we will
that
talk to
I
you
can
about
update my budget on the general fund.
Yes.
But again, none of that should be coming out from the O&M budget.
Correct, thank you.
Okay, so any questions on this one?
Are there
On the-
questions about that or the items that were just above it that we went through real quick related to plumbing, gas, and electricity. Seeing none, you can continue.
Okay, so we're going to continue on the next item. You're going to see the audit expense for about $4,900. That's the budget for the Measure J audit on the O&M. And then the next one is the contracted services. It will go on all the way to page 15 of the report. So again, the budget is about $165,000 on the contracted services. And right now, we encumbered a total of $130,000. We spent $28,000 with a balance of close to $7,000 on the contracted services.
Members have questions on this section? It's a long one.
Give us a moment.
Sure.
Okay, so the next one
No,
is,
we're giving the members a
okay,
moment to
all
read
right.
this, please. Thank you.
So,
Member Pats.
thank you. I remember asking this before, but I'm having trouble with the locksmithing. So I see you encumbered $9,500, and then you disencumbered it, and then you encumbered another $16,000, but I'm not seeing, has that money been expensed as well, or just encumbered? And then if so, why are we spending $16,000 on locks?
You'd be referring to the 7th or 8th
what
line.
page that you're looking at?
So it starts on page 13, I'm sorry, I apologize, it starts on page 12. It's the highlighted item. So there you encumber $9,500. And then on page 13, you go down just above the highlighted sorry, no, missed it.
Seventh
Just
line.
above the 45-day revision, you'll see you disencumber the $9,500 and then immediately encumber $16,000. And then, bear with me, we have some $100 expenditures, which seems like a reasonable locksmithing thing, but I'm just curious.
This is one of the ones, Dora, that we just recently talked about. This PO is going to get reduced down to $5,000. There's not a need for that. I think an amount got carried over from the previous years thinking it was going to be needed for that, but there's no specific needs that we know of at this time that would require that much of an amount.
I think it was mentioned that they're doing more than just the locks, or are they doing just, is this just lock repair?
Last year, they did more than the locks. They did the wire mesh that went around the facility that was added after the fact.
Okay. The wire mesh on the doors or the wire mesh
On the gates.
To keep the hands from going through?
Yes, correct.
But I thought that was going to be covered by?
Yes, that was covered by that. So I think this was why this amount was maybe carried over, but it shouldn't have been carried over into this, and that's why it's being reduced to have an account in case there's needs for repairs or services.
And was that amount then not charged? Okay,
Yes, it was not charged to us. It was taken out of the bond money.
perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Pedro.
Sure.
Other questions on this section? Okay, seeing none, Dora, if you'd like to move to page 15.
Okay, so now we're on page 15. Pretty well, we are on the bottom of the report. So the last couple items is pretty well is the ECCL network. You will see a budget for, if you add up those two lines together, you will see a budget for around $20,000.
So for the clarity of the members, we're talking about the bottom section on page 15
One,
at 15.5,
yeah.
and then
One-
the top section on page 16.
Yeah, one is about 13,000, the other one is for 6,992. So if you add those two up, it's about 20,000. That's the ECCL network.
Are there questions? Member Martinez?
I'm sorry, my question is pertaining to the previous section, Dora. For the crossing guards, was this always in the O&M budget, or has this previously been in an O&M budget?
It's been entirely under the O&M budget from day one.
That's correct? Okay, thank you.
But this, if the city wants to pick it up, that's okay. Sorry. Okay, so pretty well, we do not expect any fund ending at the end of the school year. So you will see there's no ending fund balance left over. So we're done with the detailed budget report. And then the other two attachments are basically the summary of this.
Okay, Member Pats.
I'm sorry, we jumped backwards before we got to the network questions, and I apologize, I've gotten old lately. And so I
Please use the microphone.
So I ask this every time. So we're paying the networking, but we also have our own, the city has its own network here as well.
Correct. It's more for the third-party rentals, the use of that network.
So the third-party rentals use their network.
Correct.
And my question is there cost savings if we just use our network for the third-party rentals?
I'm not sure. I have to look into that.
Yeah, because I just feel like, I mean, we go back and forth on this every year, but that's a lot of money for,
We're only set up in Building B. We're not
Yeah.
set up outside of that, so I don't think we will be able, but I'll look into it.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Okay, Dora, this concludes the detailed report, correct?
That's right.
Okay. Are you presenting the other two documents as well?
Pretty well, the other two documents is one is, well, actually, they both are just the summary of what we just saw. So I'm just going to ask if you guys have any questions on those two attachments.
So members, the document that's in the same format as the one we just
That's right.
saw,
It's
that's
just
the
the
summary
summary.
for that
Yes.
one. And then the other document is a abbreviated version of the ECCL operations and maintenance budget.
Yes.
And so if members want to take a moment and review this, eyeball this, I will hold for a moment to allow you to ask questions.
Can I add some information that we recently discussed?
Absolutely.
So Dora will be making some adjustments, as she mentioned earlier. One of them is actually the O&M percentage is supposed to be, currently this is set up at 70/30, but it should be at 71/29. And then, as mentioned earlier, there'll be some reductions to the gas proposed budget, and the Rex locks, as mentioned earlier, will be reduced to 5,000, and then also the pressure washing will be revisited and looked at and see if it can be done in-house, or reduced down maybe for one time a year. And then there is some changes within the budget that won't change the bottom line, that will need to add some additional costs for elevator service that are required for permits, to make sure we get the permits in time, that the director of maintenance can talk to on specific questions on those if you'd like.
Is that captured in contracted services?
Yes.
I have a question about that. If others don't have questions, I'll wait first. Others have questions? My only question is in the area of contracted services. In 2016-17, we had actuals about 126. And then last year's fiscal year, we had 185 in contracted services. We budgeted back down toward the prior year, and we were already trending back up, it looks like, after the first interim. Is it just elevators? And, I mean, I remember last year it was toilets. I mean, what is contributing to the need for contracted services? Is it maintenance related or something else?
I believe all the contracts are pretty much maintenance related that are needed for upkeep, like HVAC, and it's a big contract. We have also the crossing guards, which is also another 30,000. You have chemicals. Oh no, that's a different one. I'm sorry.
Please use the microphone.
Sorry, the HVAC, landscape, elevator, pressure wash was the 19.5. That's going to get looked at. Trying to think what the other large ones are.
But they're all maintenance in whole,
Yes.
for the most part. So I would like to just recommend to staff that when we come back to review and adopt a budget next spring, this should be a section that we get more detailed information about, and we have perhaps more of the attention on cost estimation and what are the needs going, because it looks like we have underestimated the need for contracted maintenance services, which may lead to a longer conversation about the long-term maintenance of the building if we're already off by $60,000 in a $180,000 section of the budget. That's a significant percentage to be off, I would say. Okay.
I will add that the contract service also include like alarm monitoring, fire service kind of things. Those are pretty big contracts that.
Yeah, and it just looks like we haven't forecast all those things as well as we could have. So I think that's the one area that stood out to me as needing more attention. Are there other items that people would like to discuss further?
And may I add in one comment about the contract services?
Yes.
Okay, just for your information, when we close out the book in 17, 18, and adopted the original budget for 1819. Actually, I was told, or the business office was told, that actually quite a few of one-time contracts that happened in 1718. So if you're looking at 1718 column on your spreadsheet, you will see, yes, under contracted services is 185,000. But compared to what we are now with the first interim, 165,000. So you will see a decrease of the budget under the contracted services. Because again, 1718 is extremely high because the business office was told that a lot of contracts that happened that year is a one-time nature.
Right, but in the middle column between those two figures, you budgeted 128 for this year, right?
Yes.
But you're already now saying at the first revise 165. So you've already budgeted back up 37,000, which doesn't make it one time anymore unless it's a whole new set of one-time costs, in which case it still needs to be reviewed.
And yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yes.
Because a couple days ago, and actually I sent out an email to our O&M maintenance and also the city regarding do they have any input to tell me why there is an increase of 30,000.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what I'm calling out, is
Yes.
there's a sign to me that we are not predicting one-time costs very well, and they're all related to maintenance, so I think that needs to be analyzed a little more carefully before the
Okay.
next budget.
Yeah.
You have a question, please?
May I? Yeah.
You may.
I'm sorry, she said she emailed it out. Were you involved in that? Because I thought we were talking the other day about looking at contracting some more, I'm not sure if maintenance is the right word, but around the fact that we've had increased rentals and dealing with that, or am I just way out of field here?
No, we are looking at adding some additional custodial services to the weekends, because right now the staffing that's here only does Monday through Friday.
Right, and be contracted services. not-
Correct.
And so is that, what my question is, does that get to what the mayor's asking?
That could be a part of it. We're working on that right now.
Yeah, so that was just something that was out there that is, it's one of those things, you're spending a little bit more to defray the costs of the income that we're making.
Yeah, and that's
the wrong way of phrasing
completely
that.
plausible, too. I agree with that.
Mr. Mayor?
You may, yes.
With the adjustments that were discussed, that 165 actually goes down. So I think what we're going to need to do is
That's a good
just
point.
look backwards, because we've already taken about 25,000 off in this conversation, I think. So when we come back in November, what I think would be helpful is we could present to you how the numbers have changed over the course of the year, so you can see what's been modified as we present to you the next year's budget. And so hopefully we will all have more confidence in the number.
Okay. Mr. Katz?
And, I'm going to pile on the welcoming you guys. I think one of the nice things is having the right people in the right place. This budget will get a lot cleaner, and so that's one of the things I'm most excited about welcoming the two new, I think that's the administrative committee members. And so I have more faith in the way this budget's going to come together, and the transparency is going to make it a lot easier. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions? Okay. If not, at this time, I'll entertain a motion. Mr.
I do want
Jimenez.
to just mention something about the capital program. As you'll see in a future agenda item, we're going to be working on the capital asset replacement schedule. Want to review currently where it's at and if the amount of money set aside is where it should be, and if there should be any recommended changes. One thing we did notice that we'll definitely have to add in there that's not in there is the pool. So any kind of capital improvement like plaster, the heaters, or anything like that, that's not even in there as a line item. So that'll be something that will be added in or recommended to be added in the next meeting.
When we see it in May,
Yes.
correct?
So, Mr. Mayor, yes, that's right. And thank you, Pedro, for highlighting that, because you will see changes. I predict, Dr. Scott and I have already looked at that schedule preliminarily and have some questions about whether it front loads enough costs for replacement. It's relatively backloaded at this point in the 20-year range. So we both have some questions, and we're likely to bring forward some revisions to that to you in May.
Thank you. Okay. If there's seeing no other questions, thank you, Dora, for your presentation
All
and
right,
being
thank
available.
you.
This time, I'll entertain a motion on the budget.
I'll second.
There's a motion by Board Member Merriam and a second by Board Member Collins to approve this budget. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Are there any abstaining? Passes unanimously by those present. Item 7 is City and EUSD staff comments and announcements. 7.1 is the introduction of our new Director of Maintenance, Vicente Ramos. Welcome, Vicente.
Mayor Butters, if I may add, I would like to introduce our new Director of Maintenance and Operations. He comes with a wealth of knowledge and experience from San Mateo Unified School District and San Francisco Unified School District. So I want to allow a moment for a few words.
Hello. Thank you. Again, my name is Vicente Ramos. So I have about 13 years in this field, working in the schools. I started everywhere from a sub-custodian on-call and went through the rankings of being a maintenance worker, grounds worker, heavy equipment operator, site foreman, custodial supervisor, manager of maintenance operations transportation. And now I'm here. I get the opportunity to be a director. I manage anywhere from one site. My smallest site was Westmore High School, 2,000 students. About 150 staff members, to my last location in San Mateo, Foster City, where we had 23 different sites, and I managed about 100 different personnel, from custodian up to craftsmen, electricians, and everything in between. Just want to thank you guys for letting me come in and right away be able to hire a full-time position from a 5-hour to 7.5 hour. I think it's going to be very beneficial. I already have that person's schedule lined out, so we can get them running and rolling right away. I had a chance to talk to Councilman Martinez, and she has a program going on here with some other help. I think it's wonderful, and anything I could do to help with that, I'm going to continue working on that. I also have 13 years experience working as a volunteer firefighter in the town of Colma. There, I'm also a lieutenant in charge of training and operations there. I've been up and down the state fighting wildland fires and just doing CPR and anything in between that any firefighter would do. Any questions? I'm willing to answer.
Are there any questions? I would like to welcome you, Vicente, to the city of Emeryville, and we look forward to having your very seasoned expertise assist here with us with this campus. Are any other members who wish to comment or say anything?
Welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to welcome you to the Emory Unified School District family and the city of Emeryville. And it sounds like you will be an integral piece to our puzzle, and thank you for bringing it to our district.
Thank you for having me.
So on behalf of all of us. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see a hand up. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. We made good eye contact.
Sorry,
I thought that was enough.
You passed the microphone to Brenda, so I thought you were done.
Because I was being polite.
Okay.
Not what I'm known for, but I do it occasionally. I've been in education for a really, really long time, and the best advice I was ever given is when you get to a school site, the two most important people, and forgive me, Dr. Scott, but I bet you'll agree with me on this, is the director of maintenance and the office administrator. And I want to emphasize that that's an important role that you play in kids' lives, and people don't realize it. So I'm really excited to have you on board. I'm really excited to hear that you're a volunteer firefighter. We have a great tradition in Emeryville around that, and they're on campus frequently for our events, and so you'll get to know them, our members of Alameda County Fire. But welcome aboard, and I love to hear people in education who've worked their way up and done the variety of positions, because it gives you a deeper understanding. And so I'm impressed and excited to have you on board.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Vicente, for being here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item 7.2 is the Urban Land Institute Award presentation. Steve Kelly. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you for including this item on the agenda. It's a real honor to be here. I spent many evenings on this site in the former high school building with your colleagues before you, the City Schools Committee and other groups, as we helped design and program the set of facilities. I'm here to officially recognize all of your efforts, both your efforts and those that preceded you, with a great award. I think a very wonderful award that you, as a proxy for the community at large, should be honored to receive. It's the actual hardware behind me is about a 1-foot square cube of polished steel. It's quite a monumental trophy, and I'll bring it up at some point after I say my remarks. Before I do, though, again, I'm Steve with MK Think. Yeah, it's impressive. I'd like to just say a little bit about what the Urban Land Institute is and why this is such a prestigious award. The Urban Land Institute is a nonprofit education and research organization, and its mission is to provide leadership and in the responsible use of land and in creating and sustaining thriving communities worldwide. It's a well-recognized global institute. The ULI Global Awards of Excellence program recognizes development projects worldwide that exemplify superior design, relevance to contemporary issues and needs, and resourceful use of land while improving the quality of the built environment. So, as a little bit of background, upon completing and ribbon cutting of the set of facilities, we at MK Think, along with our partners at DSK and Concordia, Swinnerton Management, and Turner, who was the contractor, helped assemble an application package to the ULI. This was done in March of 2017, and then based on that brief, the project was named a finalist in May. Upon the naming of this site being a finalist, a jury of 2 members of the ULI jury visited the site and met with Dr. Rubio and Ruth Atkin, who so graciously was able to kind of relay, I think, the long narrative of what preceded the set of facilities and the community conversations that went along with it, all the warts and everything. And I think the ULI was very interested in hearing that set of conversations. So on the award that you see here is printed the jury's statement stating that the Emeryville Center demonstrates how a successful partnership evolves into a comprehensive vision that enriches the community life through the strategic optimization of resources. So I'll also just say in closing that in walking the site with the jury members, it was wonderful. I think they really enjoyed seeing a set of facilities that welcomed all members of the community. And at the time of the site walk, we went back to the pool to observe seniors doing their exercises in the pool, and I think it just sort of cemented, I think, their love of the project. And it's not a love necessarily of the buildings. I'm an architect. I think they're nice buildings, but it's about really all of the work that went into the conversations that led to this joint use facility. So congratulations to all. If somebody would like to come up and
I will go and do the job. Take it from here. All right. Thank you for that. And as a small city, optimizing land use is a priority. And so we appreciate your recognition, and I know that both the school district and the city council trying to make a lot work in a little tiny space. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come out here and recognize us, and we thank your jury's recommendation and recognition of us as well. Okay, item 7.3 is the ECCL waste stream update. Jessica Robinson, welcome.
Hello, everyone. I actually made a presentation, but then I realized we don't have the screen, so there aren't any pictures. But I'm really happy to be here. I have been working on this project for a couple years now, and I'm happy to say that we have really amazing progress and so much support. And I really want to thank Dr. Scott for welcoming everybody in the beginning of the year, and we had our first meeting, and we had our stakeholders, and Ms. Martinez has been just a huge solid support and foundation for the program, and we were able to all come together with the principals and and also Barbara was also present, and we were able to come together with the principals and just go over everything, like all of the challenges, where we are, where we want to go. And that was huge. We got commitment from Anna Yates to start the beginning of the school year with assemblies. I was able to distribute the reusable lesson plans that I made all of the classrooms last year that were waiting in the superintendent's office in the school district. These were sitting there for, over a year. Well, not over a year, maybe like 6 months, but we finally distributed them to all the classrooms. So we did assemblies K through 8, and then all of the teachers followed up with reusable lesson plans. And then Miss Martinez and I were there every day helping monitor the bins. And then Brother Clint came in, and he's supporting the Zero Waste program with his Young Lions, and they have become lunch monitors. And the kids are supporting during lunch, and we're really starting to see a huge improvement on the Anna Yates side. And today, I just had my first high school presentations in Mr. Green's class. And I've only seen 3 classes today. But I am very happy to say that out of those 3 classes, I have over 17 high school students that want to be a part of the Zero Waste Green Team. And they want to make changes. They want to ban single-use plastic disposable items related to food. They literally said, like, let's ban something. And I'm like, awesome. Yeah, no, we're going to work on this syrup packets. So, yeah, but they're excited. They want to look at things. They want to make changes. And I haven't even reached out. I still have, I believe, 7 more classes to do. So I have 2 or 3 more classes tomorrow, and then I think 7 more next week. So we're looking at 10 more classes, and I already have 17 signups. And so the vision is having the high school students do waste audits with me, so we can just get an overview of what's happening and where are the challenges and ways that we can make a difference. And then empower them with the speaking tools and getting meetings with the higher ups so they can explain their vision and negotiate changes, which they're excited about. And they want to do litter cleanups around campus, which is really awesome. So I have experience with that where we can actually map that around projects. And I just have a funny story to tell you really fast. I don't want to take up too much time, but today at the high school they had their regular announcements, and apparently they announced students that have been in trouble for something. They're like the students of the day. And this girl in class was saying, oh, it's a good thing, it's a good thing. And someone said, well, how is that a good thing? They have to pick up trash. And then she pointed to the screen, my presentation. She goes, it's litter, it's a good thing. And I'm like, awesome. So even now, like, some of them are already starting to like change the way they like are thinking about litter and what's good, what's bad. And so, yeah, and I also asked them if they would be willing to also support the Young Lions on the Annie Yates side during when we're doing lunch monitoring, and also make the connection with the city staff. So when we have events, they can also support and help educate the public. And I want to talk to them about bringing in Jackie Nunez from the Last Straw movement, and doing a documentary of straws, and tying that all into a social project that they may be able to gift the city of Emeryville with kind of a nudge to follow certain ordinances that are happening around the state of California. So we have some really exciting projects coming up, and the students are going to get a lot of experience and learn about their power, and I'm really, really excited. And we have a goal, and that is to put the Unified School District on the map in the state of California when it comes to waste reduction. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? Councilmember Martinez.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank Jessica Jane for all of the really, for digging in on this. It's been a years-long process, and it's very rewarding to see the progress that we're making right now with the buy-in from the superintendent, the buy-in from the school board. I have to thank you for passing a new waste stream policy. I think it's really important to just reflect upon what the state mandate is, and just I'll continue to remind people that we're moving towards those goals together. But it's extremely rewarding to watch the children at work and watch them become mindful about our resources with Jessica Jane's help, teaching them about where waste comes from, where it goes, and that it's not an infinite system of resources that we have access to, yet a finite one. And I'm glad that you brought up that the high schoolers are excited about banning plastics in our waste stream, because the city is currently considering our food serviceware ordinances, and that'll come back to us. So I hope when you meet with them, you let them know when our city council meetings are, so they can speak up and actually talk to their elected officials in person and let us know what they think, because we value their voices. So thank you again, Jessica Jane. Thank you to the staff and city, at the city and at the school board, and to all of my colleagues here on the governance committee. I'm very grateful for your support in these endeavors. We're actually we're making a big difference, and I think what these kids learn, they're going to take home with them, which will help them when cities are going to be charged with reporting on how much compost or compostable items are going into landfill, and we're gonna be responsible for that very soon. So we need all of our kids on board helping at home.
Thank you. Other Board Member Collins.
Yes. So yesterday, our young scholars won the game for the championship that they were in. It was a great evening. But I'm telling this story because it was incorporated in the waste program, not necessarily the program, but in just doing what was right. So after they were victorious and celebrating, and we were taking pictures, and we looked around, and it was a mess. So we had this little drive where, hey, everybody, and I looked around, and I was like, okay, there's enough of us that if I just say everybody pick up 3 pieces of trash, then the field would be clean. And so they picked up all the trash, and I say that to just say it's not just an education for them in the classroom, but wherever they go and whatever we do, if we all incorporate it and embed it in their minds, then it will truly make a big difference. So thank you for your efforts.
Absolutely. Yeah, my goal is to empower them to be stewards for the planet. So thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your work. And I want to also just thank Councilmember Martinez, who's always got her sleeves rolled up in a pile of trash at the school district. And I think there's no better way to teach young people than to lead by example, and I am grateful for yours. All right, item 7.4 is an update on third-party rental income from the city.
So this, the update I have right now in the first quarter, we have brought in revenue of about $66,000. So we're trending to probably be around our projected number of 275. I think we'll hit that. I still think we actually will hopefully do better than that as we're going along. We're still getting more demand for third-party rentals.
Are there questions for staff related to third-party rentals, forecasts, estimates, or actualities? No. Thank you, Pedro. Item 7.5 is an update from the Administrative Committee, the Superintendent, and the City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, we have no substantive update. We will for the May meeting primarily be around the budget, and just to reemphasize again, we're going to be looking at that capital replacement schedule.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the Administrative Committee? Seeing none, we're on to item 8, which is the future agenda items. We have one future agenda item planned for the May meeting, I believe, which is the capital assessment replacement schedule. Are there other future agenda items which members wish to not discuss, but to raise as potential items for May? Member Merriam.
Yes, I think we touched upon it regarding an item on the maintenance and operations on the building. Looking to a solar package for the building. The building is actually solar ready, so start putting that in the queue as far as maybe putting it into place, and that would help offset our cost.
Okay. Is there a majority support for solar package discussion?
Yes.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, please put that on the agenda in May. Other suggestions or requests? No, we'll move past item 8 to item 9, which is Emeryville City School. Should now say Emeryville Governance Committee for future purposes on the agenda. Member comments or announcements? Are there others here who have comments or announcements? Member Collins?
So just for the sake of transparency, can we talk a little bit about the name change and how it went about? Since you mentioned.
Yeah, go ahead, Pedro. You may explain.
So in the JOA, it speaks to the Governance Committee, which is a subset of the City Schools Committee. So I'm reviewing that information because it is a separate committee. For example, the City Schools Committee has the youth members as part of the City Schools Committee, and the Governance Committee does not include them. So in talking to legal, was recommended that we set its own committee separate from that, and now believe that because of all the direction we received and the rules and procedures for that were discussed, it all falls under what the preview of the ECCL Governance Committee is for. So instead of having a City Schools Committee, is those rules and procedures fall under the Governance Committee, and now will be the ongoing meeting.
Okay, and is there any reason why we moved away from student representatives on the committee?
So, if I may.
Yeah.
The Governance Committee in the JOA explicitly lists who the members are, and it does not include student representatives. And so in order to comply with the legal requirement for the composition of the committee looks like it is now, and we're calling it Governance Committee, so it matches like a copy machine almost to what the JOA says. That's why it's listed like that.
And I provided
Mr. Mayor,
for
if I could
reference.
just add one thing.
You may add on, yes.
Thank you. So it's the governance committee that's established by the joint operating agreement actually has certain responsibilities to each of the respective bodies, primarily in terms of the budget process. So we need this governance committee, as it's currently set up here, to take certain actions as required by the JOA. So that's the format change. That's the primary reason for the format change.
And also for your reference, we have attachment E that I gave to all the committee members, so you can reference that information.
Member Pats?
So I just have a couple of quick announcements, or really they're just shout outs. I want to start with Pedro and your whole team. The Harvest Festival on Saturday here on campus was amazing. And the school came out and they ran the snack shop, which was great, and they were selling T-shirts. So it was a really nice to see a big city schools event, and I doubt there was a better Harvest Fest until I was sitting on my couch and looking at my Facebook feed, because that's what I do most of the time. And I saw an amazing one here yesterday. And so good job to the city, or to the school on that. I'm sorry, I'm switching gears here, for another amazing job. So I just love it when the community comes out and to see those sort of events. So well done.
Thank you. Are there other announcements? Member Merriam, go ahead.
Well, since this is my last meeting with City Schools, I want to thank everyone for serving with myself. And I know this has been a learning experience for myself, and I thank everyone who has been involved with this endeavor. And I just want to wish the rest of you good luck.
Thank you for that. We wish you the best of luck, and thank you for your service to our community. My last announcement is that on November 13th, between 6 and 7 o'clock p.m. outside of City Hall, that week, the 11th to the 18th, is United Against Hate Week in the Bay Area this year. And different cities in the Bay Area that have signed on to the United Against Hate Week campaign will be holding events, and ours will be one of the signature events in the East Bay. We will be having a candlelight vigil at City Hall from 6 to 7 p.m. and we will be installing a peace pole on the grounds at City Hall. We'll have a few speakers to talk about the harms of xenophobia and racism, and we will be looking to unite the community, and it would be our great privilege to invite everybody who's a member of the school district to join us at that event. So you are all openly invited, and we encourage families in the district to come as well, so I hope you'll share that information with them. Any other announcements? Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, the time is 6:44 and the meeting is now adjourned.